What's going on, YouTube? My name is Mr. Cripplin, and today I want to go ahead and talk about the recent patch notes in Smite 2. Now, before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have to keep up with any future content, I will be leaving a link to my Discord and my Twitch in the description below. Now, I wanted to do like a quick overview and kind of go through it with y'all brand new, not really knowing, but I got curious and I was looking at a lot of these things, and this patch brings a brings some good things, but a lot of weird and possibly bad changes. Now let's go ahead and go over them. We're gonna go ahead and skip this because I'm gonna be going over Cerberus in another section after this video. Um they did make a couple small changes. These skins are kind of funny, kind of cool. Um, the biggest thing, right? One of the biggest things that we want to talk about is this new feature, consumable dropping. Basically, if both your slots are full, but you need to pick up something else, you have the ability to drop one of your consumable items and be able to pick up a new item. And that item that you dropped will last for about 120 seconds before it disappears. And you or an ally can pick it up. So let's say we've had those moments where you've picked up maybe like the Naga harpies, right? And then you also picked up two warts. And then now someone needs to pick up the not yeah, the pyromancer bomb, right? And no one else has the slots. Well, you can drop one of those items now and pick up that item, which is nice. I don't think this is going to be crazy per se. Um, I think this is a small but welcome change. For example, if you're a support and you know you have more items than your carry, and they run out of potions, you can drop one of your potions, and then they can pick it up so they can heal themselves. So there's a lot of good team implications with this, but I believe this is going to require you to have a lot of good communication. So for a lot of people who don't like using their mics, they might not see a lot of benefit from this, but this is a welcome change nonetheless. Some game mode things. The new feature with the Gold Fury wind sprites. Basically, after you kill the first Gold Fury, small wind elementals will appear, and you can interact with them and be propelled forward. Uh, if you think about it, this is like if you ever use On Her's Leap, they kind of use this as a reference as well. If you use On Her Leap, you go slightly farther than that. So it's a pretty decent pushback. However, some further testing needs to be done with this. It could be really good for people who like to who like to get objectives early, and for characters who don't really have a lot of mobility. Getting that first objective take is going to be very important. Assault, we'll talk about another. Dual Sunder has been removed. Now we're gonna get into the god balance. There's a lot of good god balance here. Um, Achilles nerf. The amount of armor he gets is from his passive got decreased, or yeah, the amount of protections he gets per level from his health went down. Amma got nerfed with her aspect of valor, divine presence. I kept trying to tell y'all Merlin sucked. Look at all these buffs he's getting, and they're all damage increases. Besides the Blizzard 2, this is probably a really good change as well. The 2 on the ice stance, which is supposed to be his safest stance, now can be casted farther. So now you have extra safety with that ability. So this is actually nice. I'm probably gonna stop crapping on Merlin now, but I kept trying to tell y'all Merlin was bad because his damage wasn't good. And look, 1, 2, 3, 4 buffs. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Aladdin got a huge amount of changes. The biggest thing, right, is that now basically he can hit harder. He has better strength scalings. The genie doesn't do as much damage. And Into the Lamp, his ultimate got changed. You basically it now does base damage, and it restores both of you to 50% rather than it giving Aladdin more health and you less health. So now both of y'all are set to 50-50, which is weird because if it sets their health to 50%, what's the point of it doing damage? This actually doesn't make any sense to me because I mean, if you could use it to kill confirm, I guess, but if this does damage, but gives them 50% of their health back, what's the point? Right. They also made it to where the enemy cooldowns it stays at 50 rather than 40%. So this is kind of nice, but this personally doesn't make any sense. All of these are nice, kinda, because I don't want to see Aladdin meta again. Because Aladdin was kind of stupid before he got nerfed. He still is kind of stupid, but he's a lot more manageable. But this further testing is going to be needed. Hecate, again, another character I didn't really believe in, and look, 3 buffs. Bacchus getting a buff, which is kind of nice. The one has decreased cooldowns, and you get extra protections from it. Um, Belly Flop does more base damage. Um, and this applies a larger slow. So if you didn't know, the belly flop. This actually did have a slow on it, but because they were in the air for most of the move, you never really got a chance to feel the slow because it did have that it did have like a minor slow on it, but now you can definitely feel the effects of the slow once you land because you're still going to be slowed after getting hit with the knockup. So this could be game changing for him. But even though it's a minor change, this could be a very great buff for him, especially for like a solo laner or a jungle. So this could be nice. Vulcan getting a buff is not something that I expected, but it's not anything to do with like scaling besides his one. His one does now hit harder, but they made it to where his mods do more. Um, like the seismic mod, the one that made his ultimate make you tremble. Now it has a knockup. So this is going to be actually insane. I don't know why they gave Vulcan this, but this is going to be insane. And then now the efficiency mod that made it to where you don't get the smaller turret, the little AoE turret. Now you get extra intelligence. So now he's gonna hit harder. He has a knockup now, and his one hits harder. So I don't know what they were thinking with this, honestly, because Vulcan was already pretty strong, but now he got buffed. He could potentially be one of the best mages in the game now, but we're just gonna have to see. Bracken got a minor shift, which I love. I love this for him. So now his passive for the more protections he has, he gains 1% damage mitigation. So if you have over 200 protections of each, you get an extra 2% damage mitigations. So this is kind of nice. It's not shared with anybody. He's the only one who gets it, but this makes his tanking a lot easier. And then now his 2, the enhanced version, the one that has the stun, now restores health. Well, it restores 1% health in addition to the smaller amount. So this is nice. But they did nerf the damage of it a little bit just for the extra healing. So this is nice and this is nice. I kind of can't wait to test this out, but I digress. Let's go ahead and keep going. Rama got a buff, more damage. Pele, I don't necessarily know how to explain this one. The running version of her 2 is no longer in the game. But she always gets a movement speed buff from she gets a movement speed buff while she's casting this ability. So this is nice. But it's still a little weird. Basically, she always has a little dash whenever she uses her 2 because she gains a movement speed buff with this. So it's a nice little change. I like this. Morrigan got a little bit of a shift. Some damage increases, some better scaling. So this is kind of nice. Bari getting nerfed, freaking finally. I don't even care what all the nerfs are, but she got nerfed. That's nice. Willis getting nerfed, I didn't really expect. I didn't really think she was too bad to deal with, but I do agree that she needed a little bit of tweak, so this is nice. Mordred finally getting a nerf to the aspect specifically. So now the cooldown reduction he gets whenever he hits an auto during his stim only gives you half a second back rather than a full second. This change might seem minor, but this is huge. This makes it to where he can't cycle through his abilities as often. And now the one is on a longer cooldown, which definitely means he can't cycle through his abilities as quickly as he used to anymore. So all the people who were carried by Morgan because of this aspect will probably feel these changes. This is actually huge. I like this. I don't think this at all hurts his character because he still does exactly what he does. It just now he can't do it as oppressively. Now you actually had to be smart with your engagements. So this is an amazing change. Odin getting a small tweak, the 3. Now, even if it stuns the first person, it will still go directly through them. This is nice because if it goes through gods, that means you can hit the wave and them and still get the stun. And you can also snipe through people. So this is nice. And then the 4, he gains stacks of his passive when he casts it. So now he's gonna get that extra power just for simply casting this ability. And then he does also gain an extra. He also gains intelligence in addition to his strength whenever killing an enemy god inside the ring. So this is nice. This is a nice little change. I don't think it's gonna make it meta anytime soon, but this is nice. And then Poseidon's new aspect. Um, I'm not gonna touch on this because it's not gonna release until the 14th. I'll make a whole separate video for this, but this seems interesting. But I don't think it's gonna make it too much of a difference. But I do, with this aspect, I do think it's gonna make him an ADC. Now, the biggest thing, the item balance. Just to make this clear, because there is a lot here. They basically made a bunch of nerfs. A lot of cards are more expensive while also dealing less damage. Some tank items are more expensive while also not being as tanky, which is weird. And then they have this little thing here. This made me mad in regards to this pass an item not receiving changes is functional to it being buffed. No, it's not. Just because you don't make any changes does not mean it being buffed. You just nerfed so many other things that now this card is going to look better. That's not how that works. This card didn't get buffed. You're just going to be building it more because this card didn't receive any changes. That's not it being buffed. And all these cards getting nerfed just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why was Onsile getting a nerf? Like, why is it more expensive? It deals, you get less protections and you get less health. The whole point of this card being added to the game in the first place was because I'm guessing people were complaining that there weren't good magical defense items, and then you turn around and nerf one of the best magical defense items in the next patch. Makes no fucking sense. This, however, I love this change. The Blink Room. I was discussing this with some of my other friends, basically saying that I think that if they're gonna have it to where Blink no longer is able to use as a combat blink, they should make it to where it's more useful for you as a jungler by having the cooldowns reduced whenever you get a kill. And lo and behold, that's what they did. If you kill an enemy god, or if you have if you hit them within 4 seconds of using a blink, the cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds, which is absolutely massive. And they reduced it by 30 seconds. This is huge. This is a very, very good change, and it incentivizes you to use it aggressively and use it properly while also not giving you a free get out of jail free card. This is really nice. I like this change. So kudos to them here. Everything else, though, I don't understand. Like Chronos Pendant getting nerfed, okay, doesn't really make any sense. Dagger Frenzy getting nerfed, okay. Death Metal, why is Death Metal getting nerfed? No one built this. Another thing, Genji's getting nerfed? No one built this. Why is it cost more and they give you less mana? No one built this. The Glad Shield change, the Glad Shield and Glorious Prewind change, these two changes I kind of like, but I hate it at the same time because they made it to where the procs that you get, so the shield explosion or the shield that you get an increased amount of shield for your protections, and Glad Shield, you get more damage based off your protection scaling, which is kind of huge. This is a 15% increase, but they take away the base damage. They significantly reduce the physical protections, and they made it cost more. Same thing with Glorious Prewind. They nerfed the cooldowns on it from 20 to 12. That's huge. Nerfed 10 protections on both. That's huge. But they made it to where it hits harder. And you get a bigger shield, which is cool, but why? People were complaining about tanks, and I kind of agree. Tanks were kind of crazy unless you were an ADC. But this is kind of a weird change. I feel like we can kind of set it right himself too. With this, these next 2 weeks are probably going to be very frustrating to play because of all of these nerfs. Golden Blade nerf, Hasten Fatalis. No one built this card anymore. So how are you going to decrease the amount it costs so people build it more, but then decrease the amount of attack speed you get from it by 5%? That's huge. Why? Heartseeker, less expensive, less strength. Helm of Darkness, no one built this. Helm of Radiance, no one built that. Nemean Lion, some people built that depending on some things, but nerf. Hussar's Wing. If you don't know what this does, this makes you immune to slows. But it costs 3,700 to build. Decreased health, decreased protections, while keeping the cost the same. This doesn't make any sense. Hydra's getting nerfed. Okay, this kind of makes sense, though. That makes sense. J Scepter, nerf. Doesn't make any sense. No one used it. Yun's Revenge. People use this, but cost less strength. This is actually not bad. I think this is not a bad change, but still. Yeah, just basically a lot of changes. And look, they nerfed Magai's, but well, okay. They kind of... Why? Why they decrease the magical protections, but increase the physical protections, and then take away the cooldown rate? Why? Nerf. Mans of Discord. Nerf. Doesn't make any sense. Musashi's Dual Swords. You don't really see this card a lot. Nerf. Mystic Mail. Nerf. Just nerfs. Necronomicon. Nerfed. Nimble Ring. Nerfed. Old Sorcery. Nerf. In regards to this past, an item receiving changes function to being buffed. No, it's not. Odysseus Bow. Nerf. Oni Hunter's Garb. Nerf. Pendulum Blade. Nerf. Pharaoh's Curse. Nerf. Again, decreased magic protections. Why? And it costs more. Why? This patch doesn't make any sense to me. Just a bunch of nerfs for no reason. This is gonna suck. I don't understand why they made all these changes. Some of these changes are nice, but this is kind of stupid. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think they buried this game. I really don't. But these changes literally don't make any sense. Without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to the Cerberus review, because this is kind of crazy. Alright, so a quick little overview for Cerberus. He's the newest god coming into the game. Well, newer. He was in Smite 1. This character is anti-heal incarnate. That's the first thing you need to understand. Basically, his passive basis to where he reduces enemy healing, and then he gets 60% of their base healing as his own. So he directly counters heavy healing teams. So Ra, Aphrodite, Anubis. You pick Cerberus into those gods, he's not only going to heal just as much with them, but he's also going to automatically reduce the amount of healing that they receive. And then if you want to be hateful, you can still build anti-heal on top of that. So that's kind of nice. He has a stun whenever his passive is up. If you look above his icon, whenever all three of those heads are alert, that one becomes a stun. You can instantly set that by using this. Now, this is a little bit of a bug. One of the coolest things that they added to Cerberus from Smite 1 is that the duration and the damage of this ability goes up and whenever he kills a soul. Well, how do you get souls? You just have to use your leap and hit them directly. As you can see, little souls pop up. As you can see, little souls pop up. Whenever he kills those souls, he gains a heal. And whenever he heals... whenever he kills a soul, it heals you, and it reduces the cooldowns on his 3 by 2 seconds. So, and that, I believe that's for every soul too. So if you do this, it's supposed to reduce the cooldown on it by 2 seconds. So I don't know if this is because of jungle practice or not, but it doesn't,
your middle tower is under
attack. Doesn't seem to be working. So, as you can see, that's about how long those moves last. It's supposed to add an extra 3 seconds whenever you kill a soul, right? So, why is it not working here? I don't understand. It could just be a bug with jungle practice. I don't know. If this works in match, that's fine, but not being able to test it in jungle practice is kind of frustrating. I think jungle practice needs to be tweaked, because there's a lot of things at jungle practice that you can't do that you can do in real matches, making it to where practicing is very difficult to do. So, but so far Cerberus seems like a lot of fun. He does incredible amounts of damage since his 2 does shred protections. He does have really good CC with the stun on this ability, and then this ult that can displace you. So all of that's really nice. I think this guy's gonna be a welcome change, but let me know what you guys think about this patch and what you think about Cerberus. I'll be doing a more in-depth guide on Cerberus within these next couple of days, but thank y'all for watching, and y'all take care.